An article from Optometry Times by Mark Bullimore highlights a growing debate in myopia management that is intensifying after the FDA issued a complete response letter to Sydnexus for its low-dose atropine treatment SID 101, despite the company meeting the primary endpoint of its phase 3 STAR trial. In a recent commentary, researchers and clinicians argue the decision may represent a shifting of the goalposts, raising broader concerns about how the FDA defines clinically meaningful outcomes in pediatric myopia treatment. The controversy has sparked discussion across optometry and ophthalmology about innovation, regulatory consistency, and whether the US is falling behind other regions like Europe, where the therapy has already been approved. And Carrie and I have definitely discussed this topic to to the nth degree. And Andrew, this is definitely why I wanted to get your take and have you go into more detail about this, because this topic kind of inspired this podcast. Because when that rejection initially came through for SID 101 and that the petition came online, like, you and I started talking about it on the phone and started talking about how, like, there's information that we take at face value, and then once you dig in, what does that reveal? And I don't want to speak for you, but, like, what is your position on all of this, and what can you tell us about the article?
Yeah, man. No, what a freaking mess, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's not good. I mean, I think you cannot have a game where people change the rules in the middle of the game. And I think if there's only one takeaway, that has to be it. Um, you know, the FDA provided guidance on what it would take to get approved. They met that guidance, and they didn't approve, at least not yet. Now maybe they come back and they approve it in 3 months, and it's all water under the bridge. But it's going to be a big problem if this continues not to be an isolated incident. I think as we dig down deeper, no, the results were not incredibly impressive or anything like that. But it is a tool in the toolbox. It does have a place. Just because it wasn't a blockbuster, blow away everything else, that doesn't mean you reject it. It means that it has a place and you approve it and you use it appropriately. And so, yeah, I mean, I like everybody. I'm disappointed that, the approval didn't come through. I hope that it still will. And I mean, obviously, Dr. Bullimore is, you know, there are a relatively small number of people in the industry that when they talk, you listen to what they have to say. And, he's one of those voices. And obviously he was involved even, I believe, in advising the company through the whole process and everything too. So, yeah, with any luck, this will be a done deal eventually, but the initial, decision was disappointing. And I kind of echo what everyone else says about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree on all fronts. It's setting a really bad precedence, right? That you can change the game in the middle, and I think it's important that atropine gets approved. It's better for everybody. There'll be a streamlined way to get it. The formulation will be consistent throughout. And especially what we'll talk about later with combination therapy, it really is a good tool in your tool belt for super fast progressors. So, yeah, just sad thing to see.
Yeah, it points at this like, the alarming part of it is that it is so easy for there to be pushback. There was questions about whether the data was correct, whether the research methods were sound. And there's so many areas where um, people in the industry have tried to pick apart what Sydnexus is doing from many different angles. And I feel like at some point you just kind of have to, like, acknowledge this for what it is. Whether you're a fan of low-dose atropine or not, whether you think it needs to be FDA approved, the simple fact of the matter is the FDA set those guidelines. Nexus met those guidelines, and this sets a very bad precedent, as you both have said. And it makes you wonder what the disconnect is, right? Because we have this Stellest FDA authorization that occurred in the device sector. So it really is concerning, and I'm hoping that things will change. I think that they're up for real reevaluation. So hopefully we'll see something happen as a result of this. This is something that both ophthalmology and optometry have spoken to very loudly, but I'm really surprised it hasn't gotten more momentum in our industry in general. Cary, why do you think that that
Yeah,
is?
yeah, I've got a different take on this thing, actually, if I can talk about that a bit.
Please do.
It's a key. This drop is key to myopia management and control. Um, it has to do with pre-myopia, myopic onset and axial length elongation that happens before the child even becomes myopic. And, we're talking about an industry here. We have the pharmacies, making the stuff up on the compounding it, and the inaccuracies that I've experienced in compounding pharmacies, and trying to, if you're going to go in there, all of us, I'm sure, who are active in myopia are going to, if we're doing our job, we need to go and talk to the parents. We need to be dealing with 2-year-olds and younger at this. If we have an incidence, of myopia with the parents, and we have a pathway here, and I might add that maybe not all the data was as impressive as we would like, but effectively the emerging myopes, the fast progressing myopes, were 75% control of that with the drop. So I mean, this is a huge impact when you think about axial length being the big product here a year and a half before they become myopic. That's where you get all this big axial length change, that you can control 75% of that. So this is a key drop to everything that we want to do, because we have to start early, in the treatment, and you're going to have to sell this to a parent with a child that doesn't have the eye condition at the present time, probably is hyperopic, and you need an FDA approved device to do this. I mean, you can't, trying to do this with compounded. I mean, God bless you for making the attempt, but I as a parent would question that. But if you have an FDA approved drop that actually says this is safe, this is effective in use, then it's a whole different ballgame for your discussion with that parent. I mean, you can go, it's just a different level that you're talking about. And so this is key. We have to get here. There's no other way. We can't get around this thing. If we don't get this done, a lot of our major issues that we're trying to deal with myopia, it's lost, because we cannot start when we should be starting, which is pre-myopia, and doing something, to positively impact that change before it ever happens, so we can actually give that child a lifetime of seriously really good eyesight, so they don't have to, do these other things.
Well, that's a
So
fantastic point.
I think that,
And to answer Matt, why isn't there a bigger uproar in the industry? It's exactly that. Most people are not thinking, 3 steps ahead like that.